started being corrupt today.
All right, your thoughts on Waiguru and DP tickets?
If I was one Deputy President William Ruto, I would seriously start considering a female ticket to the candidacy in 2022 for the seat of president. And I think, let me tell you something. You know, what's happening might look like it's a bad thing for William Ruto, because it is depicting him as a corrupt leader. But let me tell you what is most important. This is very good publicity, and this is one of those moments that William Ruto and Anne Waiguru need to seize and actually get on top of the game. And as I said earlier, I think this is an opportunity for William Ruto to call very serious strategists like Mark and tell them, my friend, can you now start a process in which you are going to push the tide in a different direction? And I believe very strongly, William Ruto needs to lose some of the friends very close to him who are preventing him from getting the correct advice, and call serious people like Mark here and tell him, Mark, come and sit in my think tank. Let me allow you full ability. I'm going to facilitate you to design for me a counter narrative against the political tide that you see against me. And this is going to be extremely good for him.
All right.
Believe me.
Gentlemen, let's move away from Ruto and Waiguru. I'm sure we could stay here the whole day. But there's a specific story on the Daily Nation on page 3. We've seen, of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta honoring some incredible women in society. Nevertheless, if there's another woman you want to keep your eyes on as we are ending August, is Cabinet Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Monica Juma. Now, she'll be leading a U.S. advanced team ahead of Uhuru and Trump meeting. President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to meet 3 incredible people, or very powerful people. Prime Minister Theresa May for the very first time in terms of close to door-to-door meeting. Xi Jinping, and of course not the first time, and President Donald Trump. Bichachi, what would you like to see President Uhuru Kenyatta and CS Juma's team push when they're meeting these 3 powerful countries?
The first opportunity that is wide open for Kenya and for Africa at large is the fact that Britain is facing a very hard Brexit. It is probably going to be a no-deal Brexit, and a no-deal Brexit means that the UK will be desperate to create trading partners. So there are 2 things, especially in the case of Britain, that we need to deal with. Number 1 is the opportunity that arises for Kenyan products, our tea, our coffee, and all these things that have traditionally gone towards the UK. It's time to renegotiate, it's time to reposition, it's time to get the better deal for Kenya, and that's the opportunity that's there. Secondly, there's the issue of Tullow Oil. Tullow is a UK-based company, and of course they've had a bit of troubles in the northern part of Kenya, but perhaps it might be a good time to talk about what enabling environment could exist for Tullow to continue to exist in Kenya and not cause us conflict. In the case of the United States, we've got what Obama gave to Africa and Kenyans at large, which was the trading deal that we had. We expect there to be a continuation, but also let's remember there are lots of Kenyan immigrants living in the United States, and the rules are changing fast and hard. What's going to happen to them? That's something that the president needs to secure. And of course, there's the issue and the matter of security. We are central to the security of the region of the Horn of Africa. So the Somalia debate will be there. The Southern Sudan will be there, but it is I'm hoping against all hopes that for once someone in the Republic of Kenya will actually talk about the Bobi Wine issue, where an innocent, in my view, an innocent leader is being mistreated simply because he won a few elections against Museveni.
All right, let me get Wakoli's thoughts, and perhaps Wakoli, you could also help us understand and perhaps what you want to see with Uhuru doing in terms of China. And the reason why I say this is because now perhaps a lot of people are saying the Kenya and China trade is becoming too much, in the sense that if we're not careful, we'll soon become economic slaves to China, in the sense that we have already enough debt that we owe to these people in the name of development.
Zinzi, I just want to concur with my friend here, Mark, on the issue of trade and position in Kenya in terms of security, because when you look at the geographical space that Kenya occupies at the moment, is very central to the region in terms of ensuring
ensuring that the region is at peace. And that's one area that I think the president will be discussing more with Theresa May and Trump. With regards to China, you know, we have been having so much unequal, unbalanced kind of trade between Kenya and the Asian countries like China, since Kenya started shifting from its traditional partners, which were Europe and America, and started focusing in the East.
Right.
And this unbalanced kind of trade is favoring China to the expense of Kenyans, because there's so much dumping of Chinese products, which mostly are not quality to this country, but Kenya is exporting like none to China. So a country cannot develop without through imports only. So there's need for regulation so that Kenya can find a way of developing its economy in terms of industrialization, instead of dumping so much from China, which to me, some of the products are not quality for Kenyan use.
All right, so you're calling for regulation, but as well as fairness. We also do business in terms with China as well.
Sure.
All right, Mambaleo, your thoughts on those three critical people he's going to meet?
First and foremost, Zinza, I think it's important for us to notice that, you know, His Excellency the President was invited as the second African leader after Muhammad Buhari of Nigeria to go and visit or meet Trump in the White House.
Right.
And that's extremely important. Why? Because the Americans, in their wisdom, of course, understand that Kenya is a very important country in the Horn of Africa, strategically placed geographically, and it is now the center of economic activity around the East African and generally the Eastern African region. So, having said that, this is what I want President Uhuru Kenyatta to look Trump in the face and tell him that, you know, America does seem to depend on Kenya on certain things around this region. And for far too long, America has pushed a certain agenda that is not extremely good for Kenyans. So can we do this?
In terms of culture?
In terms of many things. Can we do this, for instance? There is absolutely no reasons why Kenyans have to go through hell to get American visas when Americans can come to Kenya so easily, all right? If it is a question of security, let us deal with the security question. You know, just like we dealt with the security question so as to pave way for the direct Kenya-American flights. Let us also deal with the security questions surrounding immigration. And for a country that you depend on so much, especially to stem the Chinese influence, you need to give us more than you're actually giving. Give Kenyan citizens an easier route to America than it is at the present. Make Kenyans able to go to the US to get skills. Please encourage skills transfer from your companies to the Kenyan African industry so that we are able to develop the skills we need to manufacture. You know, manufacturing is one of the biggest agendas in the Big Four agenda of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And it's not going to happen unless we have foreign direct investment from people like Americans. And when you have an opportunity like this, I think this is one of those things that Uhuru wants to negotiate with Trump. He also needs to tell him, you know, Kenya, as it is right now, may not have the amount of resources you need to develop a proper security system. Why? Because its relationship with America and other countries of the West has led us to a big problem which we never had in the first place. We are a target of terrorism. And so therefore, America needs to assist us in capacity building in the security docket. You know, we need to see more coming from America. We know now that, for instance, the AGOA deal is coming to an end in 2025. And so we need to push for African Kenyan products to go to the US beyond that particular deadline. So for someone like Theresa May, I'm sure that there are a number of things that President Uhuru can discuss. Of course, the first one is to pat her in the back and tell her, you know, I know it has been very difficult with Brexit and so on. And as my friend Mark said, Brexit is a big problem for Britain right now. They are losing friends very quickly. And so in the next coming months, we are going to see a Britain that is really in need of new friends. And you know, there has existed for a very long time a very special relationship between Kenya and the United Kingdom. And some of the skills development that you have running this country today have really come from the UK.
Let me get your thoughts on Bichachi because of time. Let me get his thoughts on what actually Bichachi said. What would you advise President Uhuru Kenyatta and his team, especially on number of oil, Tulo oil?
That's a very complex issue. However, this is the thing I think which is important. First and foremost, the president should ask their counterpart, or his counterpart in the United Kingdom, to assist in giving the resources that tallow oil requires, or tullow oil, whichever you want to call it, requires to continue with the exploration in the northern part of Kenya.
Right.
Because we seem to have gotten to a point where tallow oil itself thinks that it no longer has the resources it can keep pumping into this process to deal with all the questions that surround oil exploration. For instance, right now, you must know.
Let me cut you short because we need to release our KTN home viewers, but we'll be back with this conversation right here, even as we take a look at the week that has been. For our KTN home viewers, this is where we say goodbye, but if you want to be part of this conversation, tune into KTN News, but we want to leave you